There was a time when the world was so young, there had not yet been a sunrise. Oh, for God's sake, who writes this rubbish? Amazon believes that only great wealth can keep evil in check, but that is not what I have found. Why the halflings? I do not know. Perhaps it is because they are very cute, even though they didn't exist back then. Featuring 80s comedian Lenny Henry as a black hobbit, because diversity. Lord of the Rings meets Deep Impact, based very loosely on the works of J.R.R. Tolkien. This September, we invite you to a world of diversity and inclusion. A world where things make very little sense. A world where girls are tougher than boys. A world conceived by those who couldn't be bothered to read the books. The most expensive TV show ever made. That's a weird flex. There is only one Lord of the Rings production, and it does not share power.
It's almost like Lord of the Rings of Power is doomed to fail. It has an immense uphill battle, and Amazon is basically following the idiot's guide to annoying fans. It's just doomed. Every time I check in on the trailer, which, by the way, visually stunning. It really was. Credit where credit is due. Too much CGI, of course, for my taste, and it's a 2-minute and 31-second exercise in nothingness. It tells us nothing about the story. Doesn't even really get me all that interested in it. Admittedly, I don't want the Amazon Rings of Power show. I didn't ask for it. Nobody asked for it. And this is just another perfect example of corporations seeing a franchise and just thinking that they can come in and print money, not understanding the core fandom, not understanding the very simple things that made the show great in the first place. And as I peek in on the trailer right now, which has 10 million views, 10 million views, okay? It has 28,000 likes. That's it. That's it. For 10 million views, 28,000 likes. Now I have the whatever, the plugin that lets me see the dislikes. Take a guess. For a second right now, pause the video. Not yet. In a second, pause the video. Click the subscribe button below it if you haven't yet. And then just for fun, type how many dislikes you think it has. I'll wait. Go ahead. You don't have to pause it, actually. 117,000 dislikes. Not only, so when I say, okay, that things are bad, it's not just, you must understand, it's not just the dislikes, okay? It really isn't. I mean, the dislikes are bad. But 10 million views and only 28,000 likes. That, my friends, is apathy. That, my friends, is nobody wanted this. Yes, obviously, millions and millions of these views are paid. You know, when you run like an ad, you upload a video and you promote it, it does get view count. So Amazon has spent a fortune advertising this. 117,000 dislikes. And when you see the video as an ad, you have to actually then click on it and come here to leave a dislike. When people talk about why YouTube removed the dislike button, this is why. For corporations, that is why. Because this has to be absolutely humiliating in every conceivable way. Just humiliating for Amazon. And by the way, they're deleting comments en masse. I recorded, I'm starting to do a couple of shorts a day just to see if it helps grow the channel. I'm not reducing the standard content though, but I refreshed it and 1,000 comments disappeared. If we look at here, It's the same thing. Evil cannot create anything new. They can only corrupt and ruin good forces have invented or made. J.R.R. Tolkien. It felt only natural for us that the adaptation of Tolkien's work would reflect what the world actually looks like. Lindsay Weber, executive producer, Amazon's Lord of the Rings series. There are certainly themes Tolkien felt were important. We made the promise to ourselves at the beginning of the process that we weren't going to put any of our own politics, our own messages, our own themes into these movies. What we were trying to do was to analyze what was important to Tolkien and try to honor that. In a way, we were trying to make these films for him, not for ourselves. Peter Jackson. 2 quotes that essentially perfectly encapsulate why Peter Jackson's trilogy is legendary and viewed as one of the top 5 trilogies of all time, maybe top 3 trilogies of all time. And you just have, you know, loads of, people are probably spamming this, but like, here's 1,000 likes. You have not seen what I have seen. I have seen my share. You have not seen what I have seen. That's some Tolkien level dialogue right there. Just terrible dialogue. Terrible. And, the fact that they turned Galadriel into this cringe lord, superhero warrior, is dumb. We get it. Strong, independent women who don't need no man. We know that that's important to you. Super important to you. Not to us. Galadriel was already highly regarded among Tolkien's fandom. So to summarize, you are deleting comments en masse. You have 117,000 dislikes. And the press itself, even Paul Tassi writes, The Lord of the Rings of Power dislike buried YouTube trailer shows a steep hill. It's hard to understate just how much Amazon Prime has been riding on the Rings of Power. Its Lord of the Rings series with a reported billion-dollar budget. We are now less than 2 months away from debut, and its marketing is starting to ramp up. Suffice to say, it has an uphill climb in front of it. Skeptical Lord of the Rings fans have viewed the Rings of Power trailer this past week 6 million times, but the like-to-dislike ratio, YouTube hides dislikes now, but an extension reveals them, should be troubling for Amazon. It's at 56,000 likes and 159,000 dislikes. So they're removing likes. Oh no, so this is I'm looking at Prime India for whatever reason. Let me check the dislikes on this one. 60,000 likes, 195,000 dislikes. 195,000 dislikes. Even if you ignore the quote-unquote haters, you only have 60,000 likes with 8 million views. Zoiks. Worldwide, people hate this. Hate it. Most of the top comments are Tolkien quotes being used as dunks, but the undercurrent of all the comments is the same. That everyone is very skeptical that this will work after the perfection of the original trilogy, the badness of Jackson's Hobbit follow-ups, and the fact that this has neither Jackson nor specific Tolkien books to adapt. While my skepticism has come from spending this much on any show individually, what concerns me the most is that Amazon trusted this project to 2 people who are completely unproven in the field. Completely unproven in the field of television. Showrunners John D. Payne and Patrick McKay. I'm not insulting either of them because there is not even anything to insult. Both have resumes that are incredibly sparse, with both being uncredited writers on Star Trek Beyond and writers on a future Flash Gordon project that doesn't even exist. They must have had one heck of a pitch to Amazon for them to be trusted with what will be the most expensive show in history and easily the most weight that put on anything Amazon Prime has ever done for its streaming service. This isn't to say that a hit can't come from unexpected places. Game of Thrones, David Benioff, for instance, criticized for as he may be now, had some stinkers like a screenplay of X-Men Origins, Wolverine and his history, while D.B. Weiss had almost nothing to his name before Thrones. But still, this seems like a very, very big gamble for Amazon. Perhaps they're doing like what Marvel does, where they put essentially unproven directors on projects so that they can essentially just make them do whatever they want, manipulate them, and just make them do whatever they want. Like directors of Disney movies, like in particular Marvel movies, they don't do anything. That's why they hire these unnamed box checkers for most of their new franchises, because these directors don't do anything. There's a formula that is followed. You collect your paycheck and you use that as a springboard to go do something else. As for what's being shown itself, I would say yes, you can absolutely see that $1 billion budget on screen as the production value looks like any blockbuster movie, but I've yet to hear a compelling story being crafted, as the trailer is just a bunch of vague generalities where I cannot even parse where this is supposed to be going as a prequel, other than the descriptions I've read about Lord of the Rings era in which it takes place. I think everyone is right to be skeptical, given the evidence and given what's so far. The only thing that will shut everyone up is a good show, and come September, we'll know. Oh no, it's going to suck. Like, there's no way. I mean, even like Forbes is saying, like, no way. This is not going to work. It's too big of a risk. This is Scott Mendelson, too, who wrote this. Beat to the Dubs. Scott Mendelson. Even he says, nah, this ain't going to work, homie. And, like, the same thing, like, these comments, Nerdrotic. I do earnestly hope that the assignment of actual speeches to the characters, they will be represented as I have presented them in style and sentiment. I should resent perversion of the characters. J.R.R. Tolkien. Nobody wants this. Nobody wanted it. Everyone hates it. It's going to be a disaster. I predict Rotten Tomatoes reviewer scores sub 60%, perhaps even sub 50%. It may have been a fine sci-fi, or like, not sci-fi, but like, you know, oldie timey. I don't know what you would really call it. There's a word for it. It's not coming to me right now. It may have been a fine show standalone, but this is not Lord of the Rings. And certainly the way the trailers are portraying it, it's like the Galadriel show. It's kind of like The Witcher, how The Witcher is, you know, essentially seems to take a back seat at times when really people just want to watch The Witcher. This is going to be one of the biggest disasters I would suspect in Amazon's early streaming history, and I'm here to cover it. I can't wait for the show to come out. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.